Greetings to my fellow Reds. I'm sure that you, like me, thoroughly enjoyed the game against Brighton, a team that we've struggled at in the last couple of seasons. And in fact, an interesting stat, the last time we beat them away from home was in 1982. But bear in mind, they were relegated in 1983. Remember, we played them in the FA Cup final of 83 when they'd already been doomed to relegation. So I'm not sure, the exact relevance of that stat. What I did like was the team selection, and I think that Ollie arguably put out his best 11. The starting lineup, David de Gea in goals. Back four, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Luke Shaw. And then the midfield three, Matic, Pogba, Fernandes, and the three up front, Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford. So I think with everybody fit, that probably is the best 11 that we can field. And what a game it was. And there were periods in this game that reminded me of the United of old in terms of playing at pace, creativity, direct route to goal. It really was a joy to watch for at least the first 60 to 65 minutes. Now, before I describe the goals, prior to United taking the lead, Freudian slip there, but hopefully this will come to fruition next season. Prior to us taking the lead, Bruno Fernandes had a fabulous shot, hit the post and come out. But if you look at the build-up to that goal, a magnificent pass from the back by Matic, very similar to the one that kicked off goal number 3. The ball went out to the right wing to Wan-Bissaka. It then found its way to Greenwood, to Pogba. Pogba squared the ball and Fernandes put in a fabulous shot. The keeper was nowhere near it and it struck the upright. But not long after that, Mason Greenwood shot us into the lead. And the goal for me was reminiscent in many respects of the way Robin van Persie used to play. Guy gets the ball, just wants to score goals. In fact, when you look at his body shape, it's not dissimilar to Van Persie. Better on his left foot, but he's excellent on the right foot as well. And a snapshot inside the box, 1-0 to the good. The second goal, Bruno Fernandes, a little bit lucky because it got a deflection off the Brighton player, but set up for him by Pogba, neat square ball across the front of the box, and Bruno did the rest. And in fact, the third goal was an absolute work of art. A lot has been posted on social media in recent days of the United team of about 2007, 2008, the way that we used to attack with absolute pace, and that one iconic goal against Arsenal, which saw a fabulous move with Ji-sung Park, Wayne Rooney, and Ronaldo eventually converting. Well, this was not dissimilar. Brighton had a free kick. Harry Maguire won the ball very well in the air. Good header out to Matic and a fantastic ball out to the left flank to Mason Greenwood. Now, Greenwood took the ball and hardly broke stride when he put in a beautiful cross. And Fernandes had run from very deep and he smashed the ball home. An absolutely magnificent goal, and one I think that will find its way onto the show reel of great Man United goals. I really enjoyed that. But what I enjoyed most was the team performance. I thought that the 11 that started the game, in fact, were in the main pretty excellent. Having said that, it was on a night that Martial and Rashford were not at their best at all, yet we won comfortably. So this says a lot, and it's said by many that if you've got a team in whom 8 players perform well, you're on a winning combination, and this was one such game. So let's look at individual performances. David de Gea, well, he's come in for a lot of criticism lately, and he pulled off a couple of excellent saves in the second half. One thing that he excels at is he goes through periods in the game where he's not called into action, and he's suddenly called into action to make what's often a reflex save, and he did this on 2 occasions, and he was really very, very good. He's come in for a lot of flack of late. It's because he's at Man United, and in fact, Dean Henderson hasn't exactly covered himself in glory in a couple of recent games, yet not much is said with respect to that. Wan-Bissaka, excellent. Stats have shown that he's made more tackles than any other fullback this season. But what I really liked was that he got forward quickly. And clearly they've been working on that aspect of his game. Interestingly, he used to be a winger. He was converted to a fullback at Crystal Palace. Victor Lindelof, last season the game at Brighton was an absolute nightmare for him. He had a particularly bad game. Well, on this occasion I couldn't really fault him. An improved performance, but for me still maybe a little bit soft against a very strong striker, and it's an area that I think we may need more personnel. Harry Maguire, excellent on the night. Calm, reassured, won a lot of balls in the air, and his distribution is very good and not scared to bring the ball out of defence. Luke Shaw, a lot of balls went down the left flank, particularly in the early part of the game, and he was largely instrumental in that second goal when the ball eventually came back to Fernandes, because he took the ball down the left flank and put in a good cross. Defended well. Yes, he's got Brandon Williams breathing down his neck, but Shaw has performed well. I loved this midfield three. This is the best midfield three that we can field at the moment. Matic, so calm on the ball, distributed it fantastically, covered the back four very well. Paul Pogba, I think Paul Pogba is showboating a little bit less since the arrival of Fernandes. He was strong in the tackle, kept things simple, that was the main thing, and threaded some really good passes, a great performance. Fernandes, well, this guy has taken to United like the proverbial duck to water. He is inventive, he works hard. I enjoyed his post-match interviews because he's a modest fellow, and he took his goals really well. Wonderful, wonderful player and a fantastic acquisition. The front three, I'm going to lump Martial and Rashford together because by their standards, they had a poor game. I thought Rashford's first touch was poor on the night. His distribution was poor. Martial didn't see much of the ball, but this was offset by Greenwood. And for me, Greenwood was the man of the match. He was inventive, eye for goal, carries the ball forward, and I enjoyed particularly the fact that he worked hard on that right flank and often came back to defend. So a great performance by him. 18 years old. I think Solskjaer has used him quite sparingly, and I think that's been the right way to do it, and he's certainly one for the future. By no means the complete article, but heck, this guy looks absolutely special. We had 5 substitutes come on. Williams, Pereira, McTominay, Igalo, James. I think what really epitomizes the standard of the top 3 midfielders for us is when Fernandes and Pogba were taken off for well-earned rests and they were replaced by McTominay and Pereira, the pace of the game changed completely. Yes, McTominay is an aggressive player. I certainly value him in the squad, but I think Matic takes the role way ahead of him at the moment. But Pereira, for me, like Lingard, should be moved on. He's not inventive at all. He gets the ball, he looks around, a lot of his passes were wayward, and for me, just not good enough. And when those two came on, the midfield creativity really suffered terribly, and we didn't create much in that last half hour, but in truth, the game was already sealed. Brandon Williams, excellent young player, aggressive, good in the tackle, made a couple of very, very good interceptions, so that left-back slot really looks good. But I think what we need in order to challenge the top teams is we need at least 2 players in every position that are top players. If you look at the likes of Man City, and I hate speaking about other teams, but if one of their players is missing, there's somebody to come in for them. At the moment at United, if Fernandes and Pogba are not there, we don't have able-bodied replacements. We've got replacements in other positions, looking pretty good, but the pundits seem to feel that we need an out-and-out striker, a number 9 that can hold the ball up. Maybe this will be Greenwood in years to come, but you can't expect an 18-year-old to be doing that at the moment. So will we enter the transfer market and try and get somebody into that position? Will we be acquiring Jadon Sancho, as the media tell us we will be in the new season? And I say this again, I don't believe anything that's written in the media until the club make it official. But let's celebrate a fantastic victory. 15 games unbeaten, 11 clean sheets in those 15 games. We're looking far, far better. And I think these remaining games must be used as a springboard for next season. Of course, we're in an FA Cup semi-final. We're still in the Europa League, so we're challenging for trophies. And we want to try and secure a top 4 place in the Premiership. 5th may be good enough to get into the Champions League, but that's pending Man City's appeal against their ban. And looking at the games we've got left, there are no easy games in the Premier League, but these are all winnable games. Problem is that some of them are against teams that are struggling right at the bottom of the league, so they're going to be up for it tremendously. But heck, this United team are looking so much better. Let's hope we continue with some terrific performances. I look forward to chatting to you over the weekend. Next game is Bournemouth at home. On paper, it looks like we should have an easy victory, but of course, it's being played on the grass of Old Trafford. Bournemouth may have other ideas as they're fighting for their lives. Look forward to chatting to you then, and please feel free to make constructive comments with respect to the United team at the moment. Take care. Cheers.